After a few minutes, once again the small orb popped back to life, beginning to move about again. Hello, Delius. It's nice to see you again. So, waking up from another one of your naps, have you? Delius replied. Once again, they aren't naps. You have to understand that the situation is complex, and what I've learned from you has only made it more so. The information that you've given me has begun a maelstrom debate. Every planet that's occupied in the system is completely up in arms over it. Some were even in a complete panic. But after giving them the timelines, they settled down a bit. Why would that be? 3 months isn't that long. Surely their fright for their lives is natural. I'm sorry to inform you, Delius, but that's just for you. For you, it's 3 months. For us, it is, well, substantially longer. The time differential between us and you is a vast one. In fact, even the conversation we're having now is only possible due to a great deal of effort and expense. These conversations cost a fortune. What exactly is a fortune? Oh, I forgot. Undeveloped society. You don't have the concept of money, do you? Well, trust me, when it comes to the rest of us, money is a really important thing. In fact, even these probes that we've designed are exceptionally expensive. They're coated in an anti-gravitational metal, incorporated with temporal manipulation systems and all sorts of advanced hardware that costs a fortune to produce. This is only possible because a great number of people invest in it. Our conversation, in fact, is only possible through an exceptionally complex set of circumstances. Basically, I'm inside of a very big machine right now that's sort of bending the time-space continuum just a bit. Well, maybe not just a bit, a lot. It's bending the time-space continuum a lot, which is very expensive to do, but necessary in order to communicate with you. But I suppose that you might not understand concepts like that. So let me put it this way. If we disregard the difference in our time flows, the difference between passage of time on your world and passage of time on mine, and count things only in terms of how long they've existed, then I have no doubt that you, Delius, are most likely older than my entire civilization. To you, 3 months is simply 3 months, but to us, it is countless centuries. I will be long since dead and gone by the time that 3 months has passed. In fact, even the conversation I'm having with you now is taking place several years after the last conversation that I had with you. I was just a snot-nosed college kid when we first made contact, and now I'm a well-respected doctor with several degrees and decades of experience. A large chunk of my life has flown by, while for you, basically none has passed at all. I'm sorry to say this. I know that we're getting used to talking to each other, but this is probably the point at which I should warn you that eventually someone will replace me. And when I say eventually, to you, it'll seem like nothing at all. No doubt, by the time that you go to sleep and wake up, I will have long since died, and someone else will have to take my place in communicating with you. Well, I don't really know what to say to that, Delius replied. I mean, it just seems so sad to have lives that short. No, Delius, you're still not understanding. My life isn't short. nor is yours truly long. We simply live in different flows of time. Gravity bends time, and on your world, there is, well, an ungodly amount of gravity. This intense gravitational pull, created by your living world, is bending the fabric of space and time around you, making it pass much slower than it does in the rest of the universe. My life may seem short to you from your perspective in time, but I assure you, I live a long and fulfilling life. Or at least I have thus far. I'm even getting married next month. Oh, you too, huh? Delius replied. I'm due to be wed soon as well. Well, based on your description, I was thinking about asking you to the wedding, but I don't think you'll be around for it. Well, unless it's sometime in the next few minutes, I doubt it. So, if your people are so concerned about what I said, why isn't it that you're not, running, fleeing from your world, trying to find a new host? Delius, do you have any idea how difficult that would be? You could not fathom the number of people who live on my world. Just up and finding a new world and shipping everyone on mine there? It's next to impossible. But there are a bunch of different people, and they all have different opinions about what should be done. And believe it or not, your idea was suggested among them, that we simply leave. In fact, some have already started arranging it, and beginning to build grand shuttles, in case of need of worldwide evacuation. Those people don't have very much support at the moment, so really it's just a high-in-the-sky dream. It'll take an exceptionally long time to collect enough capital to do something like that. They'll most likely be limited to some minor shuttles and ships, for those who've invested. But it's really just a big scam, because the people who are investing aren't going to be alive when your Hagara wakes up. They'll be long dead, so they're not going to see anything from their investment. They're just doing it out of paranoia. But I suppose I'm not really one to talk. All of the interest in the events on your world and your race, the stories that you're telling about this Hagara have, well, created a whirlwind of interest in the investment on topics regarding your world. And some of those investments have included investing in the interests of people like me as well. Biologists, geologists, and countless scientists the world over. In fact, they're actually talking about bringing it up at the next Interplanetary Council. Interplanetary Council? Delius replied, unsure of what you meant. Oh, well, currently, our conversation and the information that we've uncovered through those conversations has primarily stuck to just my world. However, the possibility of the destruction of our entire system is a matter of some importance, and thus the government is going to bring it up at the next meeting between the other planets in the system. We're not the only ones up here. There are actually 6 habited planets within this system, and we don't always see eye to eye, but our system might get eaten by its center is something that they're gonna want to cover. As absurd as it sounds, there are even some people trying to figure out a way to kill your planet. Delius laughed vigorously. How absurd! How could a flea kill the planet that it lives on? Such a thing can't be done. I know. It sounds absurd, but there are people who are backing it nonetheless. I mean, even if such a thing was possible, there'd be no telling what kind of catastrophe it would cause. Your world is the center of our entire solar system. Well, normally it would be called a solar system, but our suns actually rotate around you. For all we know, it's not simply the mass of your world that creates the gravitational field that keeps all of us in place, but part of its life. For all we know, if they actually were able to kill Hagara, our entire system might just float off with no gravitational center to hold on. Or the suns that are in the system might try to reaffirm control, creating a shift that would send every planet in the system into a complete and total catastrophic meltdown and wipe out all life. So it would basically amount to the same thing. But paranoid conspiracy theorists plot nonetheless. I, for one, am actually of a different state of mind about things. There are two plans that actually catch my interest. The first of which is finding a way to extend Hagara's slumber, to keep him asleep, so that he won't wake up and eat us all. Do you actually think such a thing is possible? Delius replied. I don't know for certain, but if he is a living thing, then, quite simply, we have drugs and chemicals that we often use as medicine to sedate ourselves or other animals, and sending them to sleep. Though the mechanics of it would be much larger, the basic concept would be the same. To infuse Hagara with something that keeps him asleep. And the second idea that I'm actually in favor of is simply feeding him. Feeding him? How exactly are you supposed to feed Hagara? Delius replied. Well, it's a complicated state of situation. But according to you, he wakes up and eats the moon and the stars that circulate him, right? Currently, my objective in researching this possibility is to determine whether the amount of moons and stars that exist every time Hagara goes to slumber, the ones that he creates in his wake, is around the same each time. If it is, then we might simply be able to collect enough matter or ambient energy that we can simply feed Hagara, like giving him an oversized snack that amounts to about the same mass and proportion that he would intake. Then, being well fed, he would have no need to travel elsewhere. He could simply go back to sleep. But that's easier said than done, considering he eats entire planets and stars. But our scientists are working on it nonetheless. I'm not gonna lie to you, that one's a bit of a far-fetched theory as well. But since it's the theory that doesn't involve destroying entire civilizations, or killing one of the most magnificent beings that I've ever heard of, that anyone's ever heard of really, that's the one I'm favoring. Far-fetched or not, Mikuri said, as Delius and Mikuri continued to talk for some time, before finally the conversation had to come to its end, as it had several times before.